Welcome to the Raw Feed. I'm Gary Franchi, and we are streaming live to millions worldwide on YouTube, plus our freedom fighters on Rumble and X and Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. So follow us on all platforms. The censors can't stop the truth when we are everywhere. Now, before we dive in, download the Next News Network app right now. Breaking news alerts, exclusive content, 24/7 access. Android users, hit the Google Play Store. iPhone users, grab it from the App Store. Links in the description. Never miss what matters. And if you want to show your support privately, hit those donation links in the description. Want the world to know where you stand? Check out our merch shop at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. Alligator Alcatraz, President Otto Penn, and our American Badass series are waiting for you. And what sets the Raw Feed apart? Well, you do. We're going to be reading your live chats, your reactions, your super chats, your Rumble rants throughout the show, so send them in now. We'll feature them on screen for the entire world to see. Share the stream right now via text message to bypass big tech algorithms. Ex-viewers, repost this to your followers, and if you're on Facebook, hit that share button and send it out to your friends and family. Spread the truth like wildfire. Also, join our YouTube channel memberships for exclusive perks, special chat room acknowledgement, behind-the-scenes access, and our members-only Discord running 24/7. Each level unlocks more insider content. Become part of the Next News family. Now, on this day in history, September 29th, 1789, the U.S. Army was established by Congress. Today, 236 years later, we're watching a different kind of army, the National Guard, deploy on American streets to restore the order that Democrat mayors abandoned. History rhymes, patriots. Tonight's show connects explosive threads that we've been tracking for weeks. Remember when we exposed the Russia Hoax architects? Well, James Comey, yes, he just got indicted, and the dominoes are falling. Hillary and Obama can hear the footsteps. Remember our cover of Antifa's growing violence? Well, Trump just unleashed the National Guard on Portland while Border Patrol floods Chicago streets. We've got exclusive interview with Mark Vargas, the editor of the Illinois Review, who calls Chicago a literal war zone. And that digital ID nightmare we revealed last week, well, it's morphing into something biblical. Quantum dot skin implants that last 5 years. The mark of the beast isn't coming, it's here. But wait, there's more breaking tonight. Democrats are literally preparing to shut down the government unless we fund health care for illegals and gender operations overseas. Your tax dollars held hostage by radicals who hate Trump more than they love America. Plus, YouTube, they just paid Donald Trump $24.5 million for illegally banning him. The censorship regime is crumbling, paying out fortunes while MrBeast gets exposed for fake stunts and illegal lotteries. Well, here's what's different about tonight, though. These aren't separate stories. They are one massive offensive by the deep state and one massive counterattack by Trump and the patriots. The coup plotters are getting arrested. The street terrorists are getting crushed. Mark Vargas will explain how these Antifa thugs are literally trying to burn ICE agents alive. The technocratic control grid is being exposed, and the censorship cartel is hemorrhaging money. From grocery stores requiring skin implants to Border Patrol dragging Antifa thugs through the Portland streets, from Comey's indictment shaking the swamp to Democrats holding your paycheck hostage, this is the culmination of everything we've warned about. The battle lines are drawn. The masks are off, and for the first time in years, we are winning. 5 topics tonight, 5 battles in the war for America's soul. The Russia hoax criminals facing justice, federal forces reclaiming our cities with eyewitness accounts from the front lines. Democrats' treasonous shutdown scheme, the biometric beast system going live, and big tech's censorship empire collapsing in real time. So strap in, patriots. This is the Raw Feed, where we don't just expose the news, we expose the war behind it. So let's dive into the documents that prove Comey was running a coup and why his indictment is just the beginning. But first, let's welcome you to the program. Michael Jones, Robert Lockhart, Pothead Kenny, Karen Finley, Sue Couture, everyone's in the house. Mary Crabtree, Heather Reeve, Beagle Mom, Bill's Rules, Lynette, Watchwoman of the Dragon, Rainbow Melon, Awful Workplaces, John Gray. Who else is in the house? We got Shadow Watcher, Blessed Mess, Dan Thompson, Russ Bischoff, Smoochy, Global Wars News, Cher Johnson, Kem Sofia, Sang Pao. Who else is here? We got Antonia Flores, Nancy Day, Mary, Rumblebot, Michael Fiacco, Threads of Hera, D. Nice, Mark Norfolk, Dale Audit, Ophicus, Robert Fulton, Eugene Denny, Joe, Winston Smith on Rumble, Dave the Patriot, Truthy Ruthie, Trish, Leslie Graham, Raymond, man, I can't even read it all. This is coming in so fast. Karen, Daniel, Eric, what's up, Daniel? We got Mark, we got Cher, Kathy, Broken Prophet, Heather, Sophie Rathi, love you, Gary, David Williams, Kim Weig. Oh, my goodness, man, you guys are filing in. It's great to see everybody here. We got news to jump into. Some breaking news actually right out of the White House just a few moments ago, too, so we're going to get to that. They told you Donald Trump was a Russian puppet. They told you he stole the 2016 election. They told you Putin controlled the White House. Well, tonight the liars are finally facing justice. James Comey, the man who weaponized the FBI against a sitting president, has now been indicted by a grand jury. But here's what they're not telling you. This is just the beginning. Secret documents buried in FBI back rooms reveal a conspiracy that reaches the highest levels of power. The architects of the Russia hoax, Hillary and Obama scrambling, deleting tweets, calling lawyers because they know what's coming next. The House of Cards is collapsing, and when it falls, some very powerful people are going to go down with it. Keep watching. While everyday Americans struggle with soaring costs, 1 in 4 low-income households spending 15% of income on electricity alone. The elite plotted their coup, families choosing between food and power bills since 2020, while FBI brass conspired in comfort. That's why this little device here, it matters. Minimizes dirty electricity, stabilizes current, prolongs appliance life. Just plug it in. Works instantly, smoothing electrical flow, supporting lower bills. You even get a $100 utility rebate certificate. On sale up to 60% off at don'twastepower.com. 60-day guarantee, because while Comey collects his government salary planning treason, real Americans need real solutions. Order it at don'twastepower.com. Fight back against their corruption. So some breaking news out of the White House just a few moments ago. An intruder scaled the White House fence, was immediately taken into custody by the Secret Service. We don't have all the details on this. This just happened. But here is the picture of the individual in question. Not sure what he's cosplaying as there, but he'll be cosplaying as a guy behind bars very, very soon. Very stupid to scale the fence at the White House. But you know what's even more stupid? Barack Obama had this to say. He posted this on on X just 4 hours ago. And I saw what he posted. And when you listen to it in the context of where we are right now, it's like the ultimate irony. The arc of the moral universe is long, he says, but it bends towards justice. Except it doesn't bend on its own. It bends because we put it in the direction of justice. Yes, Donald Trump is bending it in the direction of justice right now. Listen to this guy.
Who are the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice, except it doesn't bend on its own. It bends because we pull it in the direction of justice. And when we don't, it doesn't happen automatically. Just like democracy is not self-executing. It requires effort. It requires will. What I'm feeling hopeful about, I guess to get to your final point, is I'm meeting a lot of young people, and people who are young at heart, who are standing up for their convictions even when it's hard. And I think us lifting them up and supporting them and embracing them and emulating them, that I think is what gives me hope. That's the part of the human spirit that I believe will triumph in the end.
Yeah, justice will triumph in the end when you're in handcuffs. That's what we're all hoping for. When the arc of justice bends in your direction, Barack, because that's exactly where it is headed. This guy over here, former CIA Director John Brennan, he's freaking out. The Comey indictment that came down last week, it had at least for the lying to Congress part, it had a deadline. That deadline was tomorrow. President Trump went ahead with his team, and they got the indictment from the grand jury. And, of course, on cue, John Brennan runs to his safe space on MSNBC. Here he is.
Justice. I'm not going to be intimidated by the likes of Donald Trump. I have always tried to speak my mind and do what I thought was right. And clearly, there is a corruption and a perversion of the justice system right now.
Clearly. It's so funny to hear these guys. I mean, these guys are at the heart of the perversion of the justice system, at the corruption of the justice system. It just blows my mind the hubris these guys go on MSNBC. Anyway.
Within the executive branch. And so, yeah, I don't know what may be coming my way, but I'm not going to do things that are inconsistent with my ethics and my values and what it is that I believe is important. I think more people have to speak out when they see injustice, when they see a government that is abusing its authority.
Yeah, people are speaking out. We're all speaking out against you, pal.
And his power. I think more and more people have to speak out, and I'm waiting for those Republicans in Congress to come to their senses, because the damage that's being done to this country and the dangerous times that we're in, I think too many Americans do not appreciate the extent of that. And certainly, I think we're in for even choppier waters ahead.
Talking about,
I mean, it blows my mind. You and I have been sitting here for, what, 8 years now, 10 years? Watching the attack after attack after attack on President Trump, culminating in multiple assassination attempts. I mean, we've lived through it. Donald Trump lived through it. This guy sitting at the center of it all and saying we're living in dangerous times. Yeah, because this guy was the one who helped orchestrate it over there on MSNBC. Oh, he wasn't finished yet, though. He actually there was another hit. He did. Ex-CIA Director John Brennan calls for Donald Trump and conservatives to move on from the Russia collusion hoax. Really? No. See, this is what they want you to do. See, in the old way of doing things, a new administration would come in. Everything from the previous administration gets swept under the rug, and we would just move forward, right? Everyone just wants to focus on what the new administration is going to do and disregard all of the criticisms and shortfalls and scandals of the previous administration. Well, it's reached such a point where right now we can't do that because we would lose our republic completely. And now is the time, now is the reckoning where justice needs to bend in the direction it needs to go to indict people like Brennan, Obama, Hillary, Comey, all of them.
Refuse again.
Okay, so here's
it's very, very unfortunate.
Here's John Brennan on CNN calling for Trump and conservatives to move on.
And it's very, very unfortunate that, again, Donald Trump and his people who are supporting him refuse, again, to acknowledge that and move on. We have so many challenges around this world. I was, quite frankly, appalled by what I heard at the United Nations from Donald Trump. We have so many challenges that we really need to bring this country together to focus on, as opposed to continuing to go back 8-10 years and trying to relitigate things that have been, I think, appropriately addressed. And it's very
wow. See, he's just trying to tell his viewers, don't look at the man behind the curtain, him, who helped orchestrate all the crimes against President Trump. It's an absolute joke. Here's a list. James Comey became the first former director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation to be indicted for a federal crime. Comey wasn't the only one in on the scheme. Remember their names: Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, Huma Abedin Soros, Loretta Lynch, John Podesta, Susan Rice, Aaron Zebley, Valerie Jarrett, Ben Rhodes, Sally Yates, John Brennan, James Clapper, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Andrew Weissman, Rod Rosenstein, Robert Mueller, Andrew McCabe, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, Bruce Orr, Nellie Orr, James Baker, Alexander Vindman, and Adam Schiff, and so many more. This was truly a cabal. He writes, RICO them. It was a conspiracy. Ben Garrison Graphics. Hillary Clinton could be indicted next, according to Fox News. Here's an image he made. The debate souvenir, Hillary Clinton and her jumpsuit, her prison jumpsuit. So now they're saying Hillary Clinton could be next on the list. I think this guy, Peter Strzok, remember him? Remember when this guy conspired with Lisa Page to prevent Trump from winning the 2016 election? He had an insurance policy. Then the Russia collusion hoax began. This guy should be indicted next.
DOJ need to.
If we are too timid in the way we talk about this, I mean, these are threats to terrorize people who are public servants doing their jobs for political purpose. Are we see something? Are we saying something? And are we saying the right thing?
Well, in my opinion, we're not doing enough. I mean, look, when push comes to shove, absolutely the FBI and DOJ need to band together and protect their personnel to allow them to do their job. They're going to do it, but they need to be able to do that without fear for their lives. When the FBI was fighting Al Capone, there was not a unit dedicated to protecting FBI personnel. When the FBI was fighting organized crime families in New York and all around the U.S., there was not a unit dedicated to protecting FBI personnel. I'm shocked by the fact you threw up that quote from testimony from an FBI agent to the House Judiciary Committee. Who's the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee? Jim Jordan. And yet Jim Jordan, hearing that these threats to this AUSA are coming about from being publicized, he nevertheless goes on television and, appears in the same, little snips that you showed, repeating the name of this AUSA. So,
okay, whatever. I don't even want to hear his voice. He just belongs in prison. Let's get to that clip here. This is it. Hillary's collusion plan backfires as indictments are rolling in. Could Hillary Clinton be indicted next? The grand jury has officially indicted former FBI Director James Comey for lying to and obstructing Congress about the origins of the Russia hoax, and insiders are saying this is only the beginning. Remember the Clinton plan, the one that paid millions to push the now-debunked Trump-Russia collusion story? CNN itself reported back in 2022 that Hillary Clinton personally approved sharing those Trump-Russia allegations with the press in 2016. This is not conspiracy. It is on the record. Now, legal experts and insiders believe Comey could face more charges and that pressure could be mounting on others involved, especially Hillary Clinton herself. Listen.
Could Hillary Clinton be the next person indicted?
There's certainly going to be more indictments coming over the next 3.5 years of the Trump administration.
The deep state reckoning is just beginning, with the grand jury indicting former FBI Director James Comey for lying to and obstructing Congress. The charges center around Comey's congressional testimony regarding the origins of the Russia hoax. And some believe he could face even more charges for his role in it.
Will be lucky if there is not a grand conspiracy charge brought. Comey and company and all of them got involved in the so-called Clinton plan, which, if you remember, the Clinton plan was to do what? To say that the Trump campaign was colluding with the Russians.
A big part of the government's plan, usually in things like this, is to start to get someone to tell on the other to keep themselves out of trouble. And when Vance and Trump are signaling things, and I don't think they're a part of the Justice Department's investigation here, but when many people are saying things like, I think there are more to come, I wonder if that's part of it. If the idea is to put pressure in so many places, somebody says, hey, I'll talk to get me out of this.
Yeah, the paperwork, the notes, and the personal notes, that's what I think a lot of what the FBI is in the Department of Justice is looking at. During a 2016 congressional hearing, I pressed Comey on Hillary, and he denied that she ever lied to him.
Did Hillary Clinton lie under oath?
Not to the FBI, not in a case we're working.
Did you review the documents where Congressman Jim Jordan asked her specifically, and she said, quote, "There was nothing marked classified on my emails, either sent or received," end quote.
I don't remember reviewing that particular testimony. I'm aware of that being said, though.
Did the FBI investigate her statements under oath on this topic?
Not to my knowledge. I don't think there's been a referral from Congress.
Do you need a referral from Congress to investigate her statements under oath?
Sure do.
You'll have one.
Yeah, that came a few hours later. Anita, where do you see this going?
Well, I think we all heard Devin Nunes talk about how Hillary was involved in pushing this plan that Trump was colluding with Russia, right? I happened to pull an article. This is an article, this is a CNN article from 2022, okay? It says Hillary Clinton personally approved plan to share Trump-Russia allegation with the press in 2016, campaign manager says. So this is not some right-wing conspiracy. This is not some Republican talking points. This is a CNN article from 3 years ago. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if she could be indicted and finally have to answer some of these questions about this Russia collusion narrative and this dossier.
Well, remember, the pressure on her regarding the email was pretty intense because it kept going because they never would cough up those documents. And even though the FBI director said he needed a referral, to best of my knowledge, they did nothing. Absolutely nothing to actually go back and investigate that. Nobody was contacted. No documents were reviewed that we're aware of. And so this idea that the Hillary Clinton campaign spent some $10 million to generate this fictitious documentation that they could then use to change an election. Thank goodness it didn't work, though.
Right, it didn't work. Well, I would also say this. I don't think that Hillary Clinton and Comey are necessarily buddies. I think that even though Comey didn't go the distance on the butter emails, the email server in the bathroom and all this stuff, I think that was a contributing factor to her loss in 2016, among many, many other things, the basket of deplorables. But I'd also say that just this week, I believe it was, on The View, Joy Behar said, I don't like Comey. I don't want him to get indicted, but I don't like him because I think he ruined things for Hillary. So I think, maybe to your earlier point, I think there's some behind-the-scenes bad blood, and all of this just might resurface a whole lot of drama.
Yeah, I thought the FBI director was fundamentally totally wrong and screwed over Hillary Clinton. You don't go make a 12-minute statement telling everything that this person did wrong, but we're not going to charge them. Yeah. That's why the Democrats are mad and upset. And so if Comey thinks he's got this wave of Democrats behind him, I don't think so. To your point, Tommy, exactly right.
The Democrats going to turn on Hillary, on Comey, Trump on James Comey indictment. This was last week outside the White House.
Not a list, but I think there'll be others. I mean, they're corrupt. These were corrupt, radical left Democrats. Because Comey essentially was he's worse than a Democrat. I would say the Democrats are better than Comey. But no, there'll be others. Look, that's my opinion. They weaponized the Justice Department like nobody in history. What they've done is terrible. And so I hope there are others, because you can't let this happen to a country. It's not a list, but
I hope there are others. And this is your daily reminder, Joel Fisher writing that John Brennan lied under oath about the Steele dossier. He's yet to be held accountable. Check this out. This is from the committee hearing.
My friend from Arkansas, Director Brennan, do you know who commissioned the Steele dossier?
I don't.
Do you know if the FBI paid for any portion of the Steele dossier?
I don't know. I know that there are press reports related to that, but I don't know. I have no firsthand knowledge of that.
Do you know whether any of the underlying allegations made in the Steele dossier were ever tested, probed, examined, cross-examined, whether the sources were examined for reliability, credibility?
I know that there were efforts made by the Bureau to try to understand whether or not any of the information in that was valid, but I don't have any firsthand knowledge of it.
Do you know if the Bureau ever relied on the Steele dossier as part of any court filings, applications, petitions, pleadings?
I have no awareness.
Wow. This is the director of or the former CIA director, Brennan, has no intelligence, no recollection, no memory, no information. But all the documents tell a very different story. Unbelievable.
Did the CIA rely on it?
No.
Why not?
Because we didn't. It wasn't part of the corpus of intelligence information that we had. It was not in any way used as a basis for the intelligence community assessment that was done. It was not.
my friend from Arkansas.
Yeah, where's Tulsi Gabbard with all of her information, right? Here's Hillary Clinton. Okay, FBI Director Kash Patel. Okay, this is on July 31st. We uncovered this annex along with thousands of other documents buried in the back room of the FBI. Let's just look back at that real quick. It revealed a highly classified piece of the Durham report, evidence that Clinton campaign plotted to frame President Trump and fabricate the Russia collusion hoax. We worked with Chairman Grassley and declassified the documents immediately, and now the American people can see the truth for themselves. The Russia hoax was a disgrace that President Trump and our country should never have been put through. This is a step towards justice. There will be more to come. Your FBI will keep being relentless to get to the truth. Okay? Now, this is one of the main images that really was the bombshell. HRC approved Julia's idea. This idea came from Julia. Her last name escapes me at the moment. But I think that Julia will end up being one of the fall guys here. We do wish that Hillary, Brennan, Clapper, all of them get indicted. But here, the director of the FBI says, we uncovered this annex along with thousands of other documents. Hillary plotted to frame the President Trump.
Media would.
Here's Hillary Clinton.
You know, the only other adversary of ours who's anywhere near as good as the Russians is China. So why should Russia have all the fun? And since Russia is clearly backing Republicans, why don't we ask China to back us?
I hereby tonight ask China.
That's right. And not only that, China, if you're listening, why don't you get Trump's tax returns? I'm sure our media would richly reward you. You know, the only other adversary
that wasn't tongue-in-cheek, man. That was a direct solicitation to foreign powers to hack the IRS. Hillary Clinton. There she is. In 2016, Julian Assange explained how then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, through the Uranium One deal, sold 20% of our processed uranium directly to Russia. And that was the motivation behind the Russia hoax and desperation to pay Trump early on as a Russian asset to cover up her own crimes.
In fact, Hillary Clinton has done quite well strategically to try and draw a connection between Trump and Russia because she has so many connections of her own. Now, my analysis of Trump and Russia is that there is no substantial connection. Why do I say that? Well, because Trump was trying to invest in Russia before Putin in the 1990s, after Putin, in fact, nearly all the way up to the present moment. And he's had no success. He did not manage to build hotels and so on in Russia. So that shows how insubstantial his contacts are. There's an extremely well-documented pattern of when Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State, those people, companies, governments, who wanted a decision by the Secretary of State in their favor, making large donations to the Clinton Foundation or in some other cases, business deals with the people around Hillary Clinton. Now, one particular instance is the approval by Secretary Clinton of selling 20% of the US uranium reprocessing rights to a Russian company to be exported to Russia. So at that time, a large donation was made by those Russian interests to the Clinton Foundation. In addition, Clinton's campaign manager, Podesta, was on the board of a company called Juul Unlimited. And Juul Unlimited held some of these rights and received a $35 million investment from Russia.
Pay to play anyone?
Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. The rabbit hole goes very, very, very deep. And we are digging through every single grain. Here is the House Majority Leader, Steve Scalise, weighing in on the indictment of the former director, James Comey.
The federal grand jury. House Majority Leader Steve Scalise weighs in on the indictment of former FBI Director James Comey. During an interview this morning on ABC, Scalise called Comey one of the, quote, main culprits in undermining the public's trust. Last week, a federal grand jury in Virginia charged Comey with lying to Congress and obstructing justice. Scalise said the case exemplifies an unbelievable abuse of power from federal agents.
Frankly, James Comey is one of the main culprits in undermining the public's trust in agencies like the FBI. He abused his power, Martha, and now ultimately he has been indicted for lying to Congress. This isn't about what he did to the president. It's about lying to Congress and obstructing justice.
Court records say Comey is expected to be arraigned in Virginia on October 9th. House Majority Leader
October 9th, that's the big day. A lot of people asking me, Gary, they're asking me in the comments when we first reported on this, how come they didn't just, go to Comey's house at 6 o'clock in the morning with a SWAT team like they did to Roger Stone? Right? How come that didn't happen? Something we would love to see. Now, let's see. Comey never thought this would come out. What's this now? George Papadopoulos posting this 16 hours ago. Of course, he was one of the targets in the Russia hoax. He's a friend of mine.
Incredible. Todd infiltrated President Trump's first campaign by using 2 undercover agents in a so-called honeypot operation. Incredible. Todd Pyro joins us with details. Todd.
This is big. Under the leadership of new FBI Director Kash Patel and Deputy Director Dan Bongino, the Bureau has reportedly launched an investigation into the agency's plan to infiltrate President Trump's first campaign using 2 female undercover agents. Wow. The Washington Times reporting that the program was launched in 2015 by then FBI Director James Comey. The honeypot scheme was actually kept off the books, and according to a whistleblower, Comey's investigation was separate from Crossfire Hurricane. You, of course, know that as the FBI's operation that looked into allegations Trump's campaign colluded with Russia. A whistleblower disclosure says, quote, the case had no predicated foundation, so Comey personally directed the investigation without creating an official case file in Sentinel or any other FBI system. The FBI has multiple methods of protecting highly sensitive investigations, so Comey did not have a legitimate reason not to officially create an official investigation file or have a file number. FBI leaders are reportedly looking for those once undercover agents who are said to have infiltrated the Trump campaign at high levels. Back over to you.
This story is insane. Thank you so much, Todd. The whistleblower said that Comey personally directed it and using 2 female undercover agents as honeypots. They say it usually refers to an undercover operative who feigns sexual or romantic interest to obtain information on a target. So were these honeypots targeting Donald Trump? Were they targeting people on his team? Were they women that we were seeing on air all the time traveling with him?
If this is true, he's a dirty cop. And this is the same thing that is alleged that they did the same thing to Martin Luther King Jr. as well and recorded him to use as leverage. So the FBI, which was supposed to have reformed if this report is true, apparently never reformed at all.
Yeah, J. Edgar Hoover moved. James Comey always said he was above it all. And we know, soon we're going to find out if that indeed was he above it all. Was he just tall or was he just, it was the actual trade President Trump's first.
Holy cow, dude. George Papadopoulos for the win. That's a repost from me, George. Thank you for posting that. Holy cow. Meanwhile, Barack Obama posts, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. It bends because we pull it in the direction of justice. And that's exactly what Donald J. Trump is doing. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. So this matters because justice delayed has been justice denied for 9 years. While Comey and his conspirators collected fat government paychecks, you paid the price. A divided nation, corrupted institutions, and weaponized law enforcement turned against innocent Americans. The Russia hoax wasn't just about Trump. It was about silencing your voice, overturning your vote, and destroying anyone who dared challenge their power. And now the tables turn. Comey's indictment proves what we've said all along. The deep state attempted a coup. And when criminals this powerful start falling, they take others down with them. Hillary's Uranium One deal, Obama's knowledge of the plot, Brendan's CIA involvement. It's all connected, all documented, and it's all coming out. So here's my question for you. Do you believe Hillary Clinton will be indicted before year's end? Drop a yes or a no in the comments. And while you are fired up, check out our merch shop. It's linked down below, and show the world that you stand for truth. Damn! George Papadopoulos, baby. Let it go. Damn, that was hot. We got another hot topic coming up next. Oh yeah, the National Guard. The footage from Chicago and from Portland, it is absolutely insane. But what you are going to hear, one of these socialist, communist, Antifa freaks, holy cow, what you're going to hear in this next report, like, it's the foundation for the raids that should be taking place right now. We got a couple super chats real quick to get to. Let's see who's here. We got Ruby Hoove, who actually gifted a membership. Duplicate gifted 5. Thank you. And Dan Thompson dropping $2. Gary, you rock, big dog. Kenny, your name kills me. Rick Robotilli, Canadian 10. Thank you for the Canadian $10. Inbred Outlook, love you guys, dropping $2 and has become a member. And Squeeze-A-Lot is back with a 5 spot. I want to let you know how much his and his cabal's actual global net worth is, every cent around him, and their money laundering book deals. Oh yeah, the book deals are notorious methods for laundering money. Okay, so we're going to get to this. This is we had an exclusive interview. Mark Vargas joined me earlier today, so we're going to play that for you. And you're going to wait until you see what we found. American cities are burning, not metaphorically, literally. Antifa terrorists are trying to trap ICE agents inside buildings and set them on fire. They're hurling Molotov cocktails, grenades, and mortars at federal officers. They're openly calling for mass insurrection at their own conferences. But now everything changes. President Trump has unleashed a federal response that has these mass cowards screaming in the streets. The National Guard is rolling into Portland. We have video footage of tanks in the streets. Border Patrol flooding Chicago. And for the first time in years, law-abiding Americans are actually cheering as order returns to their neighborhoods. We've got an exclusive interview with Mark Vargas, the editor-in-chief of the Illinois Review, who says Chicago looks worse than Baghdad, and he knows. He was there in Iraq. He actually swam in Saddam Hussein's swimming pool. My friends, the gloves are finally off, so stay tuned. And while cities burn and families cower behind locked doors, Americans face another crisis: soaring energy costs. 1 in 4 low-income households spend 15% of income just on electricity. Those terrorized Chicago residents cheering Border Patrol, they're choosing between power bills and groceries. That's why this device is essential. Minimizes dirty electricity, stabilizes current, helps lower those crushing bills. Plug it into any outlet, works instantly behind the scenes, smooths electrical flow, protects appliances, cuts costs. You even get a $100 utility rebate certificate, up to 60% off at don'twastepower.com, because while Antifa destroys and politicians play games, real Americans need real relief. Order now at don'twastepower.com. Now, earlier today, I sat down with Mark Vargas, who is the editor-in-chief of the Illinois Review, and he's an Iraqi task force veteran. And just wait till you see this in this video interview, what we uncovered and Mark's reaction. National Guard in chaos is exploding across American cities. Radicals are openly calling for insurrection. President Trump is deploying the National Guard, and federal forces are clashing with Antifa in the streets. Joining me now is Mark Vargas, the editor-in-chief of the Illinois Review and a veteran of the Iraq Task Force with the Department of War back in 2007. Mark, I want your immediate reaction to this clip from the Revolutionary Socialism Conference. Take a look at this.
The thing you said about insurrectionist anarchists, or one thing that we've said about them, It's not the insurrection that we object to. It's the individual bit. It's the small group bit. We're working toward a mass insurrection. That's not the part that we reject. And the same goes for I'll just say we love the essay by Trotsky, Why Marxists Oppose Individual Terrorism, and the individual bit is an important part of the title. All right, thanks.
Thank you, comrade. Thank you, comrade. Mark, what is going on? They're not hiding it anymore. They're literally calling for mass insurrection. What do you make of that?
Well, it's dangerous, and it takes us to a new level of violence across our country, and particularly in our major cities, where these violent and dangerous criminals are protected by these Democratic far-left politicians. But it's this type of rhetoric that has led to the assassination of Charlie Kirk. It's this type of rhetoric that has led to violence against police. These groups, they don't love America. They hate America. They don't love law and order. They love lawlessness. And they certainly don't love the police. They want to defund the police so that they can create mass chaos in the streets. That's their real objective.
And now we see President Trump ordering the National Guard into Portland. Is this the only way that we can restore order in these Democrat-run cities?
Well, it certainly is. And President Trump campaigned on making America safe again, closing our borders, restoring law and order. And that's exactly what he's doing. And that's exactly what the American people elected him into office to do. Think about it. What's ironic is you've got the mayor and the governor there in Portland talking about, don't look here. It's a quiet and safe place. Well, think about this. I mean, these Antifa antagonizers, these little terrorists in Portland, which they call the birthplace of Antifa. They're using grenades. They're using fireworks. They're throwing glass bottles. They are throwing out mortars. They're using zip ties to try and lock in ICE agents inside facilities. They're using plywood to try and board them into the building so they can set it on fire so that they're trapped and that they can die of smoke inhalation or from a fire. I mean, these are very dangerous and violent individuals. President Trump has every right to call in the National Guard. Why? Because the residents are calling for the National Guard. You can't walk out on the streets. You can't go to the grocery store, play in the parks with your family. It is a total war zone.
Well, these are definitely President Trump's constituents nationwide. Here's Portland's mayor appearing to back the insurgents. Listen to this.
The number of necessary troops is 0 in Portland and any other American city. And let me repeat that. This is an American city. We do not need any intervention. This is not a military target.
So what do you make of that? I mean, with what you just said and what we've seen happen in Portland before, it seems like the Portland police are just outmanned and outgunned by these Antifa terrorists.
The Portland police are about 400 officers short of protecting the community. If you remember, in 2020, they were defunded. But again, the violent activity coming from Antifa, wanting to burn down buildings, burn ICE agents alive, throwing Molotov cocktails, trying to zip tie them into ICE facilities to trap them. This isn't normal behavior. This isn't the signs of a city that's healthy and safe. And again, this is violent rhetoric. This is violent activity. And President Trump has every right to send in a National Guard because, unlike the mayor and the governor there in Portland, they're not listening to their community. They're not listening to the residents who elected them to keep them safe. They're listening to the far left antagonizers of the Democratic Party that have hijacked that party that used to be great, that used to represent law and order, that used to represent the middle class. Today, it represents the interests of people who don't love America. They hate America.
Well, I mean, look at your screen right here. You can see a very highly trained and organized group. There looks like there's probably about 500 people outside of that ICE facility. Right there, you can see they're dragging away one of the protesters. I mean, what's your take on this level of force? Is it absolutely necessary?
it is necessary given the violence that's been aimed at ICE agents. Again, they want to harm these agents, and they're using very violent means to do so. Again, I can't think of anything more violent towards ICE agents than trying to trap them in an ICE facility and burn the place down. Again, another statistic that I think is very interesting, just in 2025, kidnappings in Portland have increased by over 80%. Think about that. Kidnappings have increased by over 80%, where they're sending out warnings, issuing warnings to local residents and to tourists about don't walk alone, don't walk around at night, always stay vigilant. Why? Because kidnappings have skyrocketed. This is what happens in these Democratic-controlled cities where the violent offenders are turned into victims and the innocent victims are turned into criminals.
I wanted you to take a look at what's going on in Chicago. Of course, you are in Chicago. This is the scene in Broadview. Antifa thugs are screaming at Border Patrol as they are shot with pepper balls in Broadview. If you refuse to follow simple orders, you're either going home with bruises or being hauled off in cuffs. Is this what it takes to send a message?
Well, Chicago is a war zone. Let's not forget that since 2022 and Joe Biden's open border policies, more than 52,000 migrants, regardless of their criminal backgrounds or histories, were welcomed with open arms by Democrat Governor J.B. Pritzker and Democrat Mayor Brandon Johnson, who has an approval rating of just 6%, costing Illinois taxpayers $3.1 billion. We've seen a spike in crime. These examples are illustrating that Chicago is not safe, as the governor and mayor like to say, but Chicago is in total chaos. It's a war zone because their leaders, again, are prioritizing illegals over law-abiding citizens, violent and dangerous criminals over law-abiding citizens. Send in the National Guard, send in ICE agents. We need to restore law and order.
Here's some footage that just emerged. Massive groups of armed Border Patrol agents arriving in downtown Chicago. This is an impressive. I've never seen anything quite like this, probably not since the DNC, when, of course, these types of federal forces were welcomed with open arms. They're patrolling Chicago, Michigan Avenue, State Street. They're rounding up people. We've seen clips, though, of Chicago residents openly welcoming them, thanking them. So they're calling this the federal takeover of our cities. Is that what we're seeing here?
No. President Trump campaigned on restoring law and order and bringing stability and peace to our communities, particularly Democratic-run cities that have run amok over the last 4 years, 4+ years. This is what is necessary in order to bring safety back to the citizens. Again, the streets of Chicago are a war zone. I know what a war zone looks like. I was a civilian in Baghdad traveling 14 times between 2007 and 2010. I know what a war zone looks like. Chicago is a war zone. And when Governor Pritzker talks about that it's not, that it's a manufactured crisis, let's not forget that he's saying that while he's surrounded by heavily armed bodyguards and 2 bulletproof SUVs.
Well, you know, when Washington, D.C. was taken over by the federal government, which is statute, it's a statute. They can do that. They replaced the mayor, and they replaced the head of the police the chief of police. But they're not doing that in Chicago. They're just simply bringing in forces to do the job that Brandon Johnson isn't doing.
Well, again, Governor Pritzker likes to call this a manufactured crisis. But think about this. 67,000 dangerous criminals who are out on the streets because of no cash bail who missed their court hearing. That's not a manufactured crisis. 1,600 police officers short, resulting in over 225,000 high priority 911 calls because of a police shortage. That's not a manufactured crisis. And 90% of Chicago's violent and dangerous offenders are free and out on the streets. Why? Because they've never been identified or charged, that's not a manufactured crisis. And lastly, over 52,000 migrants who've been welcomed from some of the most violent and vicious and dangerous countries, who have criminal records, who are sexual predators, who are murderers, who are rapists, who target children and young girls, who have been welcomed with open arms into the city of Chicago. That's not a manufactured crisis. Send in the National Guard, send in ICE agents. We need to restore law and order.
All right, Mark, thank you for your time. We look forward to having you back here on the Next News Network.
Thank you.
So that was Mark Vargas. Earlier today, we got this just in. Police arresting anti-ICE rioter in Portland, then forced to fall back as agitators fill the streets and chase the law enforcement. Look at this. So there's the arrest happening.
Now it looks like the police officers are pulling back. So we'll let this play out here. Yes. Yeah, the protest. The protest.
So that just goes to show you that in Portland they are outgunned. They are outmanned. Now we have this, U.S. military tanks seen driving through the streets in Portland, Oregon. Normal cities don't have tanks driving around on city streets to see this kind of thing. Only in Democrat-run cities now. Look at this. So, right by a Burger King. Tanks rolling through the streets in Portland, Oregon. And, of course, right on cue, we have Governor Pritzker telling people, we need your help. He says, get out your cell phones, record and narrate what you see.
Caught throwing away. We'll continue to fight this with everything that we have. So, people of Illinois, we need your help. Get out your cell phones, record and narrate what you see. Put it on social media. Peacefully ask for badge numbers and identification. Speak up for your neighbors. We need to let the world know that this is happening and that we won't stand for it.
Actually, Governor Pritzker, we will let the world know that it's happening because the people of Chicago are begging for it.
I was surprised and pleased to see that a federal agent in New York was put on leave after he was caught throwing a woman to the ground. Good. Good. That would never have happened, though, if it wasn't on camera. So keep documenting. It could make a world of difference for someone, perhaps for all of us. We'll continue
to... You heard him there. He's advocating for people to... record so that they can convict federal agents. Pritzker says the Department of Homeland Security alerted Illinois officials that it sent a memo to the Department of War requesting 100 military troops be deployed to Illinois.
Warning of moments ago, the Illinois National Guard received word that the Department of Homeland Security has sent a memo to the Department of War seeking the deployment of 100 military troops to Illinois, claiming a need for the protection of ICE personnel and facilities. What I have been warning of is now being realized. One thing is clear, none of what Trump is doing is making Illinois safer. 2 weeks ago, a man was shot and killed by ICE in Franklin Park, Illinois. Shortly after, ICE issued a statement justifying the killing, saying the federal agent was seriously injured. The Chicago Sun-Times has brought to light that the injuries were, in the agent's own words, nothing major. A man is dead. A community is shaken up. Moments ago, the Illinois National Guard received word that the...
Well, I mean, have you seen what's going on in Broadview, Illinois? Outside of that facility? Antifa out there, here, Broadview, Illinois, Police Chief Thomas Mills is now crying that ICE agents cursed at him, called him a traitor and a coward, and told him to get out of the way if he would enforce the law. This is on Channel 7 News.
Processing facility in the West Suburban.
I was shocked. I've never been spoken to by a fellow law enforcement officer in such a way.
Broadview Police Chief Thomas Mills says on top of requiring 75% of his department's manpower for crowd control outside of the ICE processing facility in the West Suburban City, he was personally, verbally attacked by ICE agents during a protest.
So did you hear he said, the reporter, 75% of his police force has to go outside of this Broadview facility for crowd control. See, that's all by design. I mean, you heard that clip of that Antifa advocate, that communist, who said, we want open insurrection, we want insurrection. That what they're trying to do is hamper the ability for these ICE agents to do their job. So they send masses of people there to disrupt, to block, and just create general chaos. So it's not Donald Trump or ICE. They're just doing the job that they have sworn an oath to do. It's the Soros-funded provocateurs who are outside these agencies, outside these offices, that are causing the problem that the Broadview mayor has to go and redirect his police forces to. You see, they're trying to make it sound like it's all Donald Trump. No, Donald Trump just is the guy who decided, well, we're going to follow the law now. The last guy opened up the floodgates and let everybody in. It's a never-ending cycle.
A leader of a department, I know that my office is looking at me for guidance and leadership, and I had to ensure that, I had to stay calm and not engage in such unprofessional behavior.
Chief Mills says he was walking across a skirmish on September 12th, the day this video was shot. He was called multiple expletives by an ICE agent, calling him a coward, accusing him of neglecting his duties during protests that got physical. Mills also telling the I-Team about an incident earlier this week where a pedestrian was hit by a truck near the ICE facility.
Allegedly, a ICE agent struck someone and continued on into their location. And during the course of that, while trying to gather information, there was pepper spray released while my officers right there. They felt the effects of that pepper spray where it altered their vision. They were coughing, and I was on the phone with them, and they had to leave the area so they can decontaminate themselves.
Now, Broadview's mayor has issued a blistering letter to ICE excoriating their actions, saying, quote, Broadview police officers are routinely being exposed to ICE agents' tear gas volleys, forcing them out of action until they recover. Broadview firefighters and ambulance personnel are being exposed. Nearby residents are being exposed. Beleaguered Broadview residents are begging for relief from your center's siege of our neighborhood.
No, the siege is not from ICE. It's from the paid provocateurs. You see how they're flipping this? It's disgraceful. Absolutely disgraceful. Here, look at it. This is Antifa militants surround and advance on a security guard, attempt to rob him outside of an ICE facility in Portland. Angry mob moves towards us. This is Katie Daviscourt. I'm not going to play the music, but you can see the action. Look at it. They're assaulting a security officer. I mean, they look like all these Antifa. They just look like clowns. It's just madness, and that's why President Trump's bringing in the National Guard. Here it is. Acting on orders from President Trump, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth has officially ordered the deployment of National Guard troops to Portland for 60 days. Don't stop with Portland. Deploy them to assist ICE in all blue cities. This is the official order from the Secretary of War to the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, calling for members of the Oregon National Guard into federal service. On June 7th, 2025, the President of the United States called forth at least 2,000 National Guard personnel into federal service pursuant to Section 12406 of Title 10 U.S. Code to protect U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement and other U.S. government personnel who are performing federal functions, including enforcement of federal law, and to protect federal property at locations where protests against these functions are occurring or are likely to occur based on current threat assessments and planned operations. The President signed a copy of the attached memorandum to effectuate the call forth of these service members. That's what's happening. Here's some more footage. Border Patrol agents taking to the streets, downtown Chicago, patrolling. I've never seen anything quite like this. This is wild to see. But what are Chicago residents saying? Here, I'll show you.
We work for you. We work for you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Here's that footage again. Massive groups of armed Border Patrol agents arriving in downtown Chicago. I mean, look at that. Look at that show of force right there. They are not messing around. And do you see the footage of the boats? Oh, yeah. This is just wild. Here's footage. ICE and Border Patrol in the Chicago River in downtown Chicago. They are not messing around at all. This is a show of force, and it is going to force a lot of these folks into hiding. But did you see this? An anti-ICE protester stopped to yell at agents as they were taking an illegal into custody and forgot to put her car in park, so it rolled into a lake.
Well, that sucks. Look at this, Lucy. Her car got lost.
Yep.
Well, that sucks.
What a moron. You stop to yell at ICE agents, forget to put your parking brake on. That's about the level of intelligence we're dealing with here. The Chicagoans, they're happy to see it. Broadview ICE facility, dude gets destroyed by pepper spray.
Regulate your breathing as well. Take your time, calm down a little bit. You got this, man. You got this. We're here with you, man.
Miren lo que hacen. Con su propia gente, miren. Todo lo que están haciendo. Esto no es.
Again, these are all agitators who want open insurrection.
One thing you said about insurrectionist anarchists, or one thing that we've said about them, it's not the insurrection that we object to, it's the individual bit. It's the small group bit. We're working toward a mass insurrection.
We are working towards a mass insurrection. And President Trump is answering their call with the National Guard. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. Now, this isn't about politics anymore. It's about survival. When Antifa thugs attempt to burn federal agents alive when they're using zip ties to trap officers in buildings before torching them, we've crossed into terrorism. Mark Vargas walked Baghdad streets during the Iraq War and says Chicago today looks worse. Think about that. An American city more dangerous than a foreign war zone. Why do you think they call it Chirac? The numbers don't lie. Portland kidnappings up 80%. Chicago missing 1,600 officers. Over 225,000 unanswered emergency calls, and Democrats call that manufactured. Tell that to the families begging for protection. The business owners watching their livelihoods burn. The citizens cheering as federal forces finally arrive. So here's my question. Should Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, deploy federal forces to every sanctuary city? Yes or no? Light up those comments. This is about saving America from those who want to destroy it. Check out our merch shop down below so you can wear your patriotism proudly. Wow. Oh, and speaking of morons, they are about to shut it all down. Are you guys ready for this? Oh, buckle up. We're not done yet. Squeeze a Lot dropping a 10 spot. Says the Battle of Memphis will be interesting. The level of organized crime in a distribution hub, including politicians, government, and law enforcement, is deep-seated for over 80 years. Don't see Antifa. Well, we're going to find out soon enough because we know that the Guard is going to Memphis as well. Okay. Let's go, Brian. They're doing it again. The same Democrats who screamed that government shutdowns were dangerous and reckless are now preparing to pull the plug. Why? Because President Trump won't agree to fund health care for illegal aliens, gender surgeries in Guatemala, and DEI programs in Burma. That's right. They'll stop paychecks for our troops, cut off food assistance for struggling mothers, and shut down essential services unless you pay for their radical agenda. The hypocrisy is breathtaking. Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Jack Reed, all on record condemning shutdowns. Now they're the ones lighting the fuse. The deadline is coming, and Democrats are holding America hostage, so do not blink. And while Democrats demand taxpayer-funded illegals' health care, real Americans can't afford their own bills. 1 in 4 low-income households spend 15% of their income on electricity alone. These are the same families Democrats claim to champion while choosing between power and food. That's why this little device is so critical. Minimizes dirty electricity, stabilizes current, helps slash those bills Democrats ignore. Just plug it in, works instantly, smoothing electrical flow, protecting appliances. You'll even get a $100 utility rebate certificate. It's now 60% off at don'twastepower.com. While politicians play shutdown games, with your money, get real relief. 60-day guarantee. Democrats won't help you, so help yourself. Order at don'twastepower.com. Speaker Johnson outside the White House today, a rare moment, says Democrats are jeopardizing military pay, assistance for women and children in need, and so much more. Listen.
They claw back their counterproposal. What Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are demanding is that they claw back the $50 billion that we put into the rural hospital support structure. They want to take that back. We're not going to do that. We passed that because we have to allow for that. Also, if they shut the government down, not only are troops unpaid, federal workers, and all the services that everybody relies upon, but the WIC program, the nutrition program, women, infant, and children, they will not get that program, will not be funded. FEMA won't be funded. We have hurricanes off the coast of the United States right now. This is serious business. You have telehealth, you have mental health services, all that's funded by the government would stop if Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries and the Democrats have their way. The Democrat shutdown would be damaging for the country. We can't allow for it. Their counterproposal.
And here we have more Leader John Thune on the Democrats pulling America towards government shutdown.
Fund the government through this right here, ladies and gentlemen, is what we're talking about. 24 pages. It's a continuing resolution to fund the government through November the 21st. I don't know where they're saying this is some huge partisan thing. This is something we do fairly routinely. And when the Democrats had the majority on 13 different occasions, they had the majority, President Biden was in the White House, we passed continuing resolutions to fund the government. This is purely and simply hostage-taking on behalf of the Democrats. The Republicans are united. House Republicans, Senate Republicans, President Trump. The House has passed a clean funding resolution to fund the government until November the 21st. It's clean, it is bipartisan, and it is short-term. But it gives us enough time to finish the appropriations process, which is the way we should be funding the government. So Republicans in the House, in the Senate, President United, they've passed the bill. This is sitting right now at the Senate desk. We could pick it up and pass it tonight. We could pick it up and pass it tomorrow before the government shuts down. And then we don't have a government shutdown. It is totally up to the Democrats because right now they are the only thing standing between the American people and the government shutting down. We're all in favor of funding the government. And this is something that's been done routinely 13 different times by the Democrats when they had the majority. So it's to me, it's purely a hostage-taking exercise on the part of the Democrats. We are willing to sit down and work with them on some of the issues they want to talk about, whether it's the extension of premium tax credits with reforms. We're happy to have that conversation. But as of right now, this is a hijacking of the American people, and it's the American people who are going to pay the price. This right.
A hijacking of the American people. Wow. J.D. Vance. Don't normally see him doing a gaggle at the White House, but here it happened today.
Down. We just had a very frank conversation with the Senate and House Democratic leadership. Look, the principle at stake here is very simple. We have disagreements about tax policy, but you don't shut the government down. We have disagreements about health care policy, but you don't shut the government down. You don't use your policy disagreements as leverage to not pay our troops, to not have essential services of government actually function. You don't say the fact that you disagree about a particular tax provision is an excuse for shutting down the people's government and all the essential services that come along with it. If you look at what Chuck Schumer has said in the past consistently, it's whatever our disagreements are, let's negotiate with them, let's talk about them, let's figure out a bipartisan solution, but you don't shut the government down. In other words, you don't put a gun to the American people's head and say, unless you do exactly what Senate and House Democrats want you to do, we're going to shut down your government. That's exactly what they're proposing out there. Now, we have to remember, they're very frustrated. They say that they're very frustrated about the fact that this negotiation has not taken place until today. But if you look at the original thing they did with this negotiation, it was a $1.5 trillion spending package, basically saying to the American people, we want to give massive amounts of money, hundreds of billions of dollars to illegal aliens for their health care, while Americans are struggling to pay their health care bills. That was their initial foray into this negotiation. We thought it was absurd. We told them it was absurd, and now they come in here saying that if you don't give us everything that we want, we're going to shut down the government. We think that's preposterous. We think it's totally unacceptable, and we think the American people are going to suffer because these guys won't do the right thing. Now, I want to make one final point here. You will hear a lot from Senate Democrats, from House Democrats about the fact that American health care policy is broken. Well, we know that American health care policy is broken. We've been trying to fix it for the 8 months that we've been in office, but every single thing that they accuse about being broken about American health care is policy the Democrats have supported for the past decade. So if they want to talk about how to fix American health care policy, let's do it. The Speaker would love to do it. The Senate Majority Leader would love to do it. Let's work on it together, but let's do it in the context of an open government that's providing essential services to the American people. That's all that we're proposing to do, and the fact that they refuse to do that shows how unreasonable their position is. I think we're headed to a shutdown because the Democrats won't do the right thing. I hope they change their mind, but we're going to see. We just had a very frank...
Wow. And of course, we have Hakeem Jeffries says Republicans are to blame.
And Republicans control the House, Republicans control the Senate, and Donald Trump is the president. If the government shuts down, it's because Republicans have decided to shut the government down and hurt the American people. And that's a point that we made loudly and clearly.
You said people are going to die?
It was a frank and sharp discussion about the path forward. We made clear that we are ready, willing, and able over these next 36 or so hours to find a bipartisan path forward, to fund the government and avoid a shutdown. But any agreement must be bipartisan in nature, and it's got to meet the needs of the American people in terms of their health, safety, and economic well-being. Republicans control the House.
Oh, but let's see. Where's the clip here? Crazy Bernie once called a government shutdown serious and dangerous action we must do everything possible to prevent.
The truth is that shutting down the government is a serious and dangerous action that we must do everything possible to prevent. Shutting down the government would impact tens of millions of our fellow Americans who would be unable to access government services. It would severely impact federal employees who would not get the paychecks they expected. It would also have a very significant impact on our armed forces. In other words, we must do everything that we can to prevent a government shutdown. The truth is that shutting down the government is a serious...
And let's see, we got this clip here. This is Caitlin Collins outside the White House asking J.D. Vance a question.
subsidies. On to what Senator Schumer said, that there were aspects about health care ending for certain people that the president was learning about for the first time in that meeting. And was the president open to a deal on the ACA subsidies?
Well, I'm highly skeptical that the president was learning about it for the first time, thanks to Chuck Schumer. But what I will say is, look, we have put a $50 billion rural hospital fund into the big, beautiful bill that we passed a few months ago, because we know that under Biden administration's policies, there are a lot of small town hospitals, a lot of rural health care that was getting shut down and that was struggling. We're trying to fix that problem. In fact, we're happy to work with Democrats to fix that problem. We want to work across the aisle to make sure that people have access to good health care. We are not going to let Democrats shut down the government, take a hostage, unless we give them everything that they want. That's not how the people's government has ever worked. That's certainly not how it's going to work under the Trump administration.
Oh, but did you see this? Senator Eric Schmidt on Democrats shutting down the government. This is what their plan is.
Guatemalan sect. Their plan is to spend an additional $1 trillion to restore all the things that we rescinded, like Guatemalan sex changes and DEI in Burma. They want all that back, and they want health care for illegal immigrants. That's what they're fighting for. But again, they want to be perceived as the resistance more than a party that's willing to govern. And this is the time, I think, where we come together, fund the government, give us time to continue to work on appropriations bills. But the ball really is in their court. The Republicans are pretty unified here, and this is something, again, that Democrats have advocated for in the past. Their plan is to spend
$1 trillion to restore the things we rescinded. Remember when Doge went in and cut all that garbage out of USAID, Guatemalan sex changes, DEI in Burma, healthcare for illegals? Yeah, that's what they're fighting for. They want your money to go to that. NEC Director Kevin Hassett on the president's meeting with Democrats.
Presidents out there ask is completely unreasonable. And the fact is that for previous Democratic administrations, presidents always said, look, give us a clean continuing resolution. Right. Give us a clean continuing resolution. That is, keep the government open. Don't shut the government down. And the last 13 times that it happened under Biden, then it happened clean. And so the bottom line is that they're trying to get some leverage where they don't have any. And I think Russ Vogt really called their bluff.
You think so? You think they're going to back down? Will there be a peace treaty in the meeting today, or who knows?
President Trump is a very persuasive guy, and we can hope for the best, that the Democrats don't shoot themselves in the foot. But they have been shooting themselves in the foot an awful lot lately. And
J.D. Vance, you heard him say it. We're heading towards a shutdown. Here is Senator Jack Reed in 2023.
Cost a government shutdown of any
Democrat, Rhode Island, chairman of the Armed Services Committee.
A government shutdown of any duration would harm hardworking Americans and our economy. Shutdowns cost taxpayers billions of dollars per week. They cost businesses money. They could even cost a downgrade to the nation's credit rating. And they force an unnecessary disruption of many vital services. Federal workers in all 50 states who perform essential work, like food inspectors, TSA agents, or park rangers, would stop getting paychecks. A government shutdown.
And that's exactly what the Democrats want. Pocahontas once railed against government shutdowns.
Resolution, the least we can do, the bare minimum that we can do, would be to pass a continuing resolution, keep the doors open and the lights on. We can ensure that over 1 million federal workers aren't simply sent home for no reason. We can avoid a government shutdown. This is democracy. And in a democracy, hostage tactics are the last resort for those who can't win their fights through elections, can't win their fights in Congress, can't win their fights for the presidency, and can't win their fights in the courts.
Okay. Did you hear what she just said? She used the term hostage, the same term that J.D. Vance, House Speaker Johnson said, hostage, right? And then she said, these are the tactics used by people who can't win. Now, I'm going to play it back, but watch it in the context of right now and who didn't win any of those positions. Holy cow. So crazy.
Now, this is democracy. And in a democracy, hostage tactics are the last resort for those who can't win their fights through elections, can't win their fights in Congress, can't win their fights for the presidency, and can't win their fights in the courts.
That's exactly what the Democrats are doing right now, because they couldn't win any of that. Oh, this is too good.
For this right-wing minority, hostage-taking is all they have left.
Wow. Oh, wow. Where is that clip? This is the high. Okay, this is when Speaker John Thune said
this is some huge partisan thing. This is something we do fairly routinely. And when the Democrats had the majority on 13 different occasions, they had the majority. President Biden was in the White House. They had the majority. So it's to me, it's purely a hostage-taking exercise on the part of the Democrats. We are willing.
A hostage. Oh, my Lord. Wow. This is crazy. It's so funny when their own words come back to bite them in the ass. Here's the press secretary on Fox News.
Democrats, the leverage is in the president's hands because the overwhelming majority of the American public wants to keep the government open. I mean, it's not even close. Democrats and Republicans, independents across the country want the government funded because they want our military and our troops to be paid. They want TSA agents and Border Patrol to be paid. They want food assistance programs for women and children in impoverished communities to continue going out the door. All of that will come to an end if Democrats vote against this clean CR that Republicans are proposing. And might I just add, Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are on the record multiple times in their past political lives stating that they too believe a government shutdown is bad. In fact, I quote, Chuck Schumer just last year in 2024 said a shutdown would mean chaos and pain and needless heartache for the American people. Well, we hope that Chuck Schumer and the Democrats won't cause chaos and pain and heartache. We want our country to continue to be funded. We want our government to be open so we can continue doing the business of the American people. The leverage.
This is wild. Here is, let's see, Steve Scalise 24 hours ago.
Hakeem actually, we passed a bill through the House to keep the government from shutting down. Hakeem actually whipped his members to shut the government down. He voted that way. But luckily, we were able to get the bill passed. So right now it's over in the Senate, and it's on Chuck Schumer and Democrats in the Senate to keep the government from shutting down. And I hope they'll come to their senses and do that early next week. We passed.
Here's more from Speaker Johnson on Fox.
Do you think you'll be able to avoid a shutdown?
Well, I certainly hope so. The purpose of the meeting is so that the president can assemble the four leaders, the two top leaders in both chambers, to come in and have this discussion. And I talked with him at length yesterday about this, and he's going to tell Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries to stop playing political games. What's really important to point out here, Maria, I'm glad you mentioned the national debt. The statutes in federal law require Congress to do 12 separate appropriations bills every year. That's the only way to ensure stewardship of taxpayer funds, to spend less money and make government more responsible. The problem is, as you and I both know, we've lamented before, Congress hasn't really worked that way in a long time. Typically, instead, what we have is a giant omnibus spending bill at the end of the year because the can is kicked down the road all the way to that point. We've been forcing the muscle memory back, Maria, and the good news is we are at great length, great effort. We've got Congress to work again. The House Appropriations Committee did great work. They did 12 separate appropriations bills through the committee. 3 were passed off the floor. 3 bills are passed off the Senate floor. They don't match exactly. So for the first time since 2019, we have an actual conference committee between the two chambers to work out the differences. All this is working very well, but we need more time because the end of the fiscal year is September 30th. So what do we do? Logically, we passed a continuing resolution, a simple, very clean, 24-page continuing resolution to keep the government open for 7 more weeks so the appropriators can finish that process. And what did Chuck Schumer do in exchange for that? He declined it. They voted against it. And he said, no, instead, I want to add $1.5 trillion in new spending to a 7-week stopgap bill. And I want to, as you mentioned, we want to reinstate free health care to illegal aliens paid for by U.S. taxpayer dollars. We want to claw back the $50 billion that we passed, Republicans passed, in our big, beautiful bill, the Working Families Tax Cuts, to provide for rural hospital and health care, and a laundry list of other partisan priorities. He knows it's a non-starter. He's trying to, quote, show a fight against Trump, and it makes absolutely no sense.
What do you...
Nothing makes sense from these people. Nothing makes sense at all. Oh, Senator Fetterman weighing in.
Where are you on this issue, and do you expect a government shutdown Tuesday night?
Where I'm at, where I've always been, and I will always remain on, is it is always, always wrong to shut our government down. That is a core responsibility. I'm always going to vote against those things.
Where are...
Wow. Senator Fetterman, the lone voice of reason on the Democrat Party. Never thought I'd say that. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. So this is economic warfare against the American people. Democrats who once called shutdowns dangerous and reckless now weaponize them to force you to pay for illegal alien health care, foreign gender programs, and radical DEI initiatives. They're willing to starve military families, cut off aid to struggling mothers, and crash essential services, all because Trump won't cave to their insanity. You see, the math is simple. Republicans passed a clean continuing resolutions. Democrats voted it down. Republicans want to keep government open. Democrats want $1 trillion ransom for their pet projects. Steve Scalise nailed it. House Republicans did their job. Democrats chose chaos. So when paychecks stop and services shut down, remember who did this. It wasn't Trump. It wasn't Republicans. Democrats who hate this president more than they love this country did. So here's my question. Should Republicans hold firm and refuse to fund any Democrat wish list items? Drop a yes or a no. Flood those comments. Your voice matters. And grab our merch. It's linked down below, and show them we will not back down. Wow. John Fetterman, man.
Are you on this issue, and do you expect a government shutdown Tuesday night?
Where I'm at, where I've always been, and I will always remain on, is it is always, always wrong to shut our government down. That is a core responsibility. I'm always going to vote against those things.
Wow. John Fetterman. Squeeze a lot, dropping $10. Thank you, sir. We're at $39.13. What is he saying? Look at the paid clown juggling fireworks, or people would help them understand sincere bullet points to convey the message, not to play with fire here. Memphis is too poor to have our city lit on fire. And then dropping an additional $2. Thank you. Squeeze a lot. You're at $22. No, 22 plus 5, 7. And another. And we got another one from Inbred Outlook. Shut it down. Since when does ending wrong hurt us? Squeeze a lot, dropping another 5. The clowns in Congress need to be held accountable for treason. The sickness runs deep. They need what? And Stephen Kick dropping 5. Leftists don't just view things differently. They literally have Satan in them. They love using this to their advantage. We're at $51.13. Maybe we'll hit our goal of $100 tonight. That'd be awesome. So check this out. Our next topic, kind of scary. We uncovered some stuff here that you guys need to see. You heard about what's happening over in the UK. Well, we got some interesting new developments there. A digital ID in America. All right. Where do we begin? Okay. Well, Tom B420 dropping $20. What's up, man? Thank you. Wow, we're at 71.13. We're almost just $30, $29 away from our goal. You guys are great. Okay. Last week, we warned you about the digital ID. Well, tonight it gets darker. The Gates Foundation has developed microneedle patches that inject permanent quantum dots under your skin. These marks last 5 years minimum and glow under scanners. Without them, no grocery stores, no gyms, no travel. And the EU is now demanding Americans surrender fingerprints and biometrics just to visit Europe. Oracle's Larry Ellison openly bragging about total surveillance. Citizens will behave because we're constantly watching. Over in China, your digital ID score determines if you can leave your zone. RFK Jr. calls it enslavement. Jordan Peterson says it'll make 1984 look like a picnic. And for millions of believers, this is no longer metaphor. It's prophecy unfolding before our eyes. Has the mark of the beast arrived? And while elites plan to track your every move with skin implants, working families can't even afford basic necessities. 1 in 4 low-income households spend 15% of income on electricity. Soon, they'll demand you get marked just to buy groceries with money you don't have. That's why this device matters now. Minimizes dirty electricity, stabilizes current, helps slash bills before the technocracy takes over. Plug it in. Works instantly, protecting appliances, cutting costs. Get your $100 utility rebate certificate. 60% off at don'twastepower.com. While they build digital prisons, secure your home's independence. A 60-day guarantee. Resist their control. Start with energy freedom. Order at don'twastepower.com. Now, we brought this up last week. Revelation chapter 13, verse 16 and 17. Also, it causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, both free and slave, to be marked on the right hand or forehead, so that no one can buy or sell unless he has the mark, that is the name of the beast or the number of its name. That is a prophecy from the book of Revelation that I have been commanded by Christ to watch for. We've all been commanded. Now, what we just saw in the United Kingdom is that now they're going to be demanding a digital ID just to work. They claim it's to help identify all the people coming over, or the mass migration that they've opened their borders for. Yeah, that's the problem, reaction, solution situation. Now, here's a British ex-MP, Andrew Bridgen, says if you sign up for digital ID, you'll never be able to say no to the government again.
Do you think that digital ID and increasing bureaucratic control is going to be something that's going to rouse people's passions? Do you think that's something they care about? Do you think that that's something that the British people, for example, will take a stand against? Because it seems like Keir Starmer's going to try and reintroduce ID cards or sort of, biometric data. Firstly, why is it a problem? And do you think people care about it, Andrew?
Well, they should do. Again, it's another thing that no one ever mentions in Parliament. It's all the parties are aligned with it. Agenda 2030, and that's why we're getting the uncontrolled migration. And they can only implement all the aspects of Agenda 2030 and its controls if they have digital ID. So if we can stop digital ID, it's very, very difficult to see how we can end up with a dystopian future, which I believe is in line for us.
I thought that Agenda 2030 was a conspiracy theory. Are you saying Agenda 2030 is a real thing?
It's a real thing, and if you look on the government's website, it says we remain aligned to Agenda 2030. But we never debated it in Parliament. No one ever talks about it. It's just there in the background, and all the policies are taking us that way. So if you sign up for digital ID, if you say yes to digital ID, I fear you'll never be able to say no to the government again. Digital ID will be a massive tool of control. It'll always be sold to you as it's for your own convenience and for your own security. And there's an old saying that if you're ever willing to trade your freedom for security, you'll end up with neither freedom nor security. And the only person it's going to be convenient for will be the government. And we will be like prisoners out on license, where we're tagged, and they'll know exactly where we are and what we're doing all the time. And if we give into this, Russell, future generations, it's not just about us, it's about future generations that will be condemned to that. They will never know the freedoms that they didn't have, and that can't be allowed to happen.
Do you think?
Oh, but what is it? Now, we played this last week, but it bears repeating because it illustrates the point so well.
Refusers, now, in the coming years, all shall receive the mark. The mark has already started in implication. Are we all aware of the mark? If not, please educate yourselves. In the mark of the beast, refusers of it shall not be able to buy or sell. They shall become beggars, cut out of the system, and that will be the pure delight. For they will be the wise. We brothers will never have the mark, for we will know that it really is control, and we cannot be controlled as we are the controllers. The mark will be the connection between AI, direct connections, free will, dependent on the algorithm. You see at the moment, man has free will. It was given to him by God. That gives him the right to choose. Well, once we give him the mark, that free will belong to us. We will be able to track his movements, his body, his money. His decisions will be monitored 24/7. We will replace his God. A central computer that gathers all his data, from the smartphone to the mark. Now I will detail how all of you will slowly start to implement this technology. Now.
Sounds scary, doesn't it? But it's already happening in China. In China, designated zones are only accessed by people who live outside the zone, providing they have the correct social credit score tied to their digital ID. Don't behave in the way the Chinese government wants you to. Access denied, coming to a Europe near you. Access denied. Chinese citizen trying to get into a zone. Access denied. Facial recognition. Imagine that. Oh, guess what? Your digital ID is preventing you access to the 15-minute city. What does RFK Jr. have to say about it?
What we're seeing today is what I call turnkey totalitarianism. They are putting in place all of these technological mechanisms for control we've never seen before. It's been the ambition of every totalitarian state from the beginning of mankind to control every aspect of behavior, of conduct, of thought, and to obliterate dissent. None of them have been able to do it. They didn't have the technological capacity. Today, the mechanisms are being put in place that will make it so none of us can run and none of us can hide. Within 5 years, we're going to see 415,000 low-orbit satellites. Bill Gates says his 65,000 satellites alone will be able to look at every square inch of the planet 24 hours a day. Digital currency that will allow them to punish us from a distance and cut off our food supply. Every right that you have is transformed into a privilege contingent upon your obedience to arbitrary government dictates. It will make you a slave. And what do we do about this? What do? We resist. I'm going to tell you 3 rules that you all need to know and memorize. Number 1, every power that government takes from us, it will never relinquish voluntarily. Number 2, every power they take from us, they will ultimately abuse to the maximum extent possible. Number 3, nobody in history of the planet has ever complied their way out of totalitarian control. Every capitulation is a signal to the oppressors to impose new forms of torment or torture or compliance or obedience. Every time you comply, you get weaker. Bullies cannot be appeased. It just encourages them to new forms of torture and torment. Every time you say yes, you're getting pushed back to a weaker position. That's why we need to resist today. What we're seeing.
Man, I am so happy that RFK Jr. is a member of this administration with that mindset. That is a warning if I've ever heard one. Lily Tang Williams posted this 24 hours ago. Digital ID was the first step that China took. It's the foundation for their social credit system now adopted by the West. It is a surveillance state where one mistake can cost you your job, bank account, your family, and your freedom. Reject it today.
Those people have to be condemned. A good score brings benefits, but people with low scores lose.
Now, this is video from China. Heng Shui, China.
A good score brings benefits, but people with low scores lose rights. The cinema names and shames people considered untrustworthy, plastering their details, even their addresses, across big screens. It's a matter of principle. Those people have to be condemned.
Those people aren't honest, so they have to pay the price.
It's only right to pay your debts. You have to blacklist those that don't.
The Supreme Court has created a blacklist for so-called bad citizens, those whose ratings have dropped to zero. On it are companies, but also 23 million people to date. Among them is this journalist Liu Hu. He got a little too close to uncovering corruption among high-profile party members. After being sued for defamation by the subject of a story he'd written, he was blacklisted. But he only realized when he tried to buy a train ticket and was told he was banned from traveling.
That tells me I'm still on the blacklist.
Punished because he's been branded untrustworthy by the state.
You see that? Blacklisted by the state. He goes to buy a train ticket. Rejected. Just like that other Chinese woman trying to get inside that zone. Rejected. This is the world that they're painting for us all. The United Kingdom is happily rolling it out. RFK Jr. pushing back, telling us all, reject, do not comply. Because every time you comply, they will keep pushing and pushing and pushing. No totalitarian government ever took rights away and gave them back, ever.
Once you're blacklisted, you can no longer get a bank loan, start a business, buy an apartment, or even send your children to a private school.
Liu Hu is among a tiny minority of people who have dared to criticize the system, which some are calling a digital dictatorship.
I worry, because I think many people like me will be deprived of individual freedoms.
A good score brings benefits.
You already are. And that's what's happening right now in China. And in the European Union, they're announcing all Americans visiting nearly 30 countries, almost all in the EU, will be required to surrender fingerprints, biometric data, and your photograph, which will be stored by their government. They're now mandating Americans to surrender digital ID data.
On later visits. If you're planning a trip to Europe, you're going to have to hand over way more than your passport when you get there. As part of a new entry-exit system, visitors to most European countries will have to provide 4 fingerprints and a facial photo at a self-operated kiosk. The information will be stored for 3 years, with the photo being used for ID verification on later visits. Travelers who refuse to provide their biometric data will be denied entry. The goal of the program is to enhance security and speed up border crossings, it is said. The new system is set to be rolled out over 6 months, starting in October, and applies to 29 countries, including popular destinations like France, Italy, and Spain. Wow. If you're planning a trip to Europe, you're going to have to hand over...
whatever happened to the passport? Wasn't that good enough? Apparently not. Okay, coming soon, Gates Foundation has developed micro-needle patch implants that install both mRNA and permanent quantum dot markings into your body. They will function as biological passports requiring to enter grocery stores, restaurants, gyms, and travel. This is Nicholas Hulsher, epidemiologist and administrator of the McCullough Foundation.
Appears to be they are now pushing wearables on the population and starting with external wearables and then going into internal wearables in the future. We do know as well Gates Foundation funded what's called microneedle patch implants that install quantum dots in skin for about 5 years for use as vaccine passports. Again, this is on the National Library of Medicine website. So yeah, the plan appears to be going from external wearables, get them to wear that, and then you go into the internal wearables, these implants.
And think about that in the context of what RFK Jr. just revealed about Bill Gates' satellite systems, watching every single thing you do. Here is Jordan Peterson warns digital ID will usher in a tyrannical regime. DC Drano says, hell no. The digital ID in America is the equivalent of a firearm registry. They don't take your freedoms away immediately, but it's the first big step towards that ultimate goal.
Catches you jaywalk. If you have digitally verified ID, then you run into the problems of digitally verified ID, you know, and they're running down that road in China now. So in China, for example, God, this is going to happen here, I think, too. Although maybe people will fight it. If a traffic camera catches you jaywalking in China, okay, so the digital ID system has you. It has your blood now. It has your genetic code. It has your photograph. It can identify how you walk. So even if you can't see a face, you can be picked up by gait. It will convict you of jaywalking and take money out of your bank account with no intermediating judiciary at all, and show a picture of you to the people in the neighborhood so they know that you have jaywalked, and reduce your social credit score. And if your social credit score falls below a certain level, then you can't buy drinks from a vending machine. You can't play video games. You can't go on a train. You can't get out of your 15-minute city. All that's already in place in China.
Do you think that would be helpful or unhelpful?
It would be. I think it would bring in, and it has already in China. I think it'll bring in a totalitarian tyranny so 100% complete that it would make George Orwell's 1984 look like a picnic. If you have
that's where we're headed. But we're going to fight back. The man behind the digital ID push, Michael Schellenberger writes, the man behind the digital ID push is Larry Ellison, owner of Oracle, CBS, CNN, and soon TikTok. He wants data centralization and total surveillance. Quote, citizens will be on their best behavior because we're constantly watching and recording everything that is going on. Listen to this.
Some of them I know that
your body cams will be trans.
Okay, so this is Larry Ellison, and then he's
transmitting that. The police will be on their best behavior because we're constantly recording, watching and recording everything that's going on. Citizens will be on their best behavior because we're constantly recording and reporting everything that's going on.
When you come to government and what government's doing, there are artificial intelligence tools, and some of them I know that Oracle have developed around.
So this is Tony Blair, who also was pushing for a digital ID in Europe. This looks like it's the World Global Summit 2025.
Financial management for government, but also tell us a bit about what, because you're right at the forefront of this revolution, what it means for what government should do in terms of its digital infrastructure, digital ID, data centers, and so on.
How do you take advantage of
Look at the smile on his face when he's talking. Tony Blair, just selling tyranny with a smile. Good Lord.
Because you're right at the forefront of this revolution, what it means for what government should do in terms of its digital infrastructure, digital ID, data centers, and so on.
How do you take advantage of these incredible AI models? And the first thing a country needs to do is to unify all of their data so it can be consumed and used by the AI model. You have to take all of your healthcare data, your diagnostic data, your electronic health records, your genomic data. And in the Middle East, in the UAE, for example, they're incredibly rich in data. They have a lot of population data. The NHS in the UK has an incredible amount of population data, but it's fragmented. It's not easily accessible by these AI models. We have to take all of this data we have in our country and move it into a single, if you will, unified data platform. So we provide context. When we want to ask a question, we've provided that AI model with all the data they need to understand our country. So that's the big step. That's kind of the missing link. We need to unify all of the national data, put it into a database where it's easily consumable by the AI model, and then ask whatever question you like.
So you're really, through the use of this, you're revolutionizing the way government works, right? The services it provides, the way that it operates. What about things like financial management, procurement? How can AI help a government operate more efficiently, more effectively, give a more direct and better service to the citizen?
Well, we have these modern financial systems. So, countries can, and all. For example, the AI system will help you do that. But again, the secret is to get all of that data in one place. Without having the basic data, it cannot answer the question about your country.
Centralizing all the data into a global AI system so it can be easily queried about anyone, anytime. This is what they're talking about openly at the World Government Summit 2025 this year.
I think countries are very uncomfortable with keeping their data in other countries' data centers. So I think part of our essential infrastructure, just like airports obviously need to be in our country, or they're not terribly useful. Ports need to be in our country, and they're not terribly useful. Data centers, because of the privacy requirements around the data, need to be in our countries, or they're not terribly useful. They need to be in our countries, but they also need to be secure. And there are new technologies right now. This is the last year you will ever log on to an Oracle system with a password. Next, by the middle of this year, I'm quite certain you are Tony Blair. So how do I know? Well, I look at you, I hear your voice, I listen to the kind of questions you ask. I'm pretty sure you're not synthetically created in having this conversation. The security system, we have biometric logins. The computer recognizes you. It recognizes your voice. It might ask you to put your index finger on the return key. And we're absolutely certain it's you. There's no reason to enter a password. In fact, passwords are too easily stolen. Data centers and data is being taken hostage all over the world. The ransomware business is a very, very good business. It's getting bigger and better every year. We tend not to talk about it because the American FBI has a simple advice to someone whose data has been ransomed. Just pay them because there's nothing we can do about it. But there is something we can do about it, not after the data is stolen. But before the data is stolen, we can make sure that we're using the latest security technology, and it is going to be biometrics assisted by AI to make sure that you are in fact Tony Blair, and I'm sure you are. Now, I would love to have lived to be 150 years old.
Well, there's an amazing opportunity to reimagine the state, the way that government functions, and the service that it can provide for its citizens.
Your body.
Yeah, this is all about providing services for the citizens, right?
Please educate yourselves. In the mark of the beast, refusers of it shall not be able to buy or sell. They shall become beggars, cut out of the system, and that will be the pure delight. For they will be the wise. We brothers will never have the mark. for we will know that it really is control. And we
My favorite, though?
Technological mechanisms for control. We've never seen before. It's been the ambition of every totalitarian state from the beginning of mankind to control every aspect of behavior, of conduct, of thought, and to obliterate dissent. None of them have been able to do it. They didn't have the technological capacity. Today, the mechanisms are being put in place that will make it so none of us can run and none of us can hide.
If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. So this is the line in the sand. When government demands you accept permanent marks in your skin to buy food, we've entered biblical territory. The Gates Foundation's quantum dots aren't theories. They are patented and funded. And they're ready. Nicholas Hulscher exposed the documents. They last 5 years, maybe forever. Without them, you're locked out of society. Larry Ellison isn't hiding his vision. Total surveillance where citizens behave because we're constantly watching. The EU already demands biometrics from Americans. China's social credit zones are the beta tests. Andrew Bridgen warned if you accept digital ID, you'll never say no to government again. RFK Jr. called it what it is, enslavement. So here's my question. Is this the actual mark of the beast from Revelation? Yes or no? Tell me in the comments. This isn't politics anymore. It's prophecy versus freedom. Time to choose sides. And if you want to support our work here, check out our merch shop. It's linked down below where you can wear your resistance with pride. We're not done yet. Wow, quite a few super chats that have come through here. Wow. Okay, Tom B420 was the last one. Our Boyd dropping 10. He says, America, baby, let's ride. Juan Knott dropping 20. God bless America. Debbie has become a member. All right. And Squeeze a Lot, the real number of our citizens affected by Chagas disease, which is a parasite, should be roughly calculated to 10 million rather than 300,000. Our disease vector here is bedbugs. The original vector is moving north. Beware. I'm not sure what that means. He's another 20, though, and he says this is purposeful biological warfare. The parasite, while it continues to grow, mimics other common healthcare symptoms. If you have any strange symptoms that show up in short amount of time, be tested for parasites. Stephen Kick dropping 10. Leftists are cowards who have falsely risen through the ranks and are the natural enemy of anyone who's done anything real. They're mostly all fraudsters, traitors, and cowards who must be silenced. And then Squeeze a Lot dropping another 10. Doctors are trained to treat symptoms, not to look deeply into the problem. There are other pathogens that have been released by insect vectors in the past. This one is aided by people crossing the border. Dropping another $10. Squeeze a Lot says the fall of the West by a parasite takes 2 to 5 years to fully take hold, trying to make it impossible to be free. Look to God's gifts, the plants can set us free. And then another 5 from Squeeze a Lot says the medicine from plants breaks shackles. Turn off the TV, social media, start utilizing the brains God gifted you with, catch the news and roll on. And then another $2 from Squeeze a Lot, buy actual books, not digital death. Then Stephen Kick writes, Super Chat is now blocking me from saying anything. This always happens. Wow. Thank you for that 5. Thank you, Squeeze a Lot, for your remarks and your contributions. We're $183.13 so far. Remarkable. We're not done yet. We're going to move into our final topic. Some great news for President Trump today. And some curious criticisms now happening for MrBeast. Wild. If you don't know who MrBeast is, he's one of the biggest, probably the biggest YouTuber in the world. Last week, we exposed the digital ID nightmare. This week, the other pillar of control is crumbling. YouTube just wrote Donald Trump a check for $24.5 million. Why? They illegally suspended his account and got caught. Google whistleblower Zach Voorhees used Next News Network as Exhibit A to expose big tech's censorship machine. Now they're paying up. But here's the deeper story. While platforms manipulated what you could see, they also manipulated what went viral. MrBeast's latest controversy shows how even good creators get caught in a system of fake stunts and manufactured drama. The people who fell for stage danger are waking up, and the whole truth suppression machine is collapsing. So watch this. And while truth breaks through big tech's walls, regular Americans still struggle with rigged systems everywhere. 1 in 4 low-income households spend 15% of their income on electricity and other monopoly-crushing families. The same week, YouTube pays millions for censoring truth. Power companies keep gouging you. That's why this device matters. Minimizes dirty electricity, stabilizes current, cuts those inflated bills. Just plug it in, instantly smooths electrical flow, protects appliances. You get a $100 utility rebate certificate also. 60% off at don'twastepower.com. While we celebrate YouTube's $24 million confession, fight back against every monopoly bleeding you dry. 60-day guarantee. Order at don'twastepower.com. So this is a big headline today. YouTube agrees to pay $24.5 million to President Trump for suspending his account. They should unban every conservative account. This is a huge win, MAGA Voice writes. Now, we reported last week about the letter that was sent to Jim Jordan's Judiciary Committee, where they admitted that they were pressured by the Biden administration to censor accounts. They were going to allow for those censored accounts, those terminated accounts, to come back online. My first initial thought was, well, what about Alex Jones? I never did get a response from Google when I sent it to their press office. And as we found out, I did notify Alex's team. They were going to set up a new YouTube channel. The YouTube channel went live and then was promptly terminated. So from what I understand, Alex is going to use that as a litmus test to see if Google is in fact going to allow other channels back. And I'm sure they're reaching out to the Judiciary Committee to let them know. Now, WION, just to recap that, YouTube to reinstate banned creators, Republican pressure shaping a policy shift. High-profile ban includes former Trump strategist Steve Bannon.
YouTube is allowing banned creators to apply for reinstatement of their channels, while a few of these channels were taken off the platform for spreading information about COVID-19 vaccines during the pandemic. Other creators were banned for spreading political misinformation. Google owns YouTube has said it will roll back a policy that treated certain misinformation violations as permanent. This change reflects mounting Republican pressure to reverse Biden-era speech policies on vaccines and political misinformation. YouTube ended its standalone COVID misinformation rules in December 2024. The confirmation for reinstatement program for banned creators was conveyed in a letter from Alphabet lawyer Daniel Donovan to Republican House Judiciary Chair Jim Jordan, who has long criticized big tech over censorship. YouTube's community guidelines now allow a wider range of content about COVID and election integrity. This is what Donovan said. YouTube has said the reinstatement program is expected to go live soon, but the rollback will remain limited in scope before a wider rollout in the future. Initially, only a subset of creators removed for misinformation can apply for reinstatement. Among the high-profile figures previously banned are commentator Dan Bongino, former Trump strategist Steve Bannon, and anti-vaccine activist Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. banned from YouTube. Bannon. Bongino. Here's a clip. I was on Ivory Hecker's show a couple, back in April, actually. And she clipped this out. I think it's a good roundup. Listen, Trump's federal. If you would have asked me 2 years ago, if you were to go into YouTube and a news platform, I would have told you you're crazy. I said, don't even bother. It's such a minefield. But now it's completely changed, Ivory.
So they've loosened up with the censorship?
Oh, without question, I believe they 100%. Because Trump's Federal Communications Commissioner is really turning the screws on social media and the suppression of conservative voices on those platforms, whether it's YouTube, X, Facebook, or wherever, or Instagram. So they know that they can't get away with the same stuff. And especially when you have people like myself in the press room, I have direct access to the president. I have direct access to the press secretary. I can put my grievances or the grievances of others. Like, for example, I was talking to a pilot today, and he was asking me about tariffs and the impact of tariffs and airplane parts for maintenance. And I said, I can just email the press secretary and see if we can get an answer for you. The same thing goes for the censorship thing. If there's something that happens, I could walk right into the press secretary's office and I can say, I just want to bring this to your attention. Do you have a comment that YouTube did this, this, and this? Boom. Mm-hmm. Now we've let the White House know, and it's on the record. So the game is completely changed, Ivory. If you would have asked me 2 years ago, the game has completely changed. And, of course, we have to give credit where credit's due here. Google whistleblower Zach Voorhees reveals the targeted censorship of our own channel at the Texas Senate Committee State Affairs hearing on Wednesday, May 29, 2024. All of this leading up to today's big news with respect to Donald Trump and, of course, Jim Jordan's revelations last week.
Let's talk about news ranking. News sites that supported Democrats were ranked with the highest quality and trustworthiness. Here's a partial list. Wall Street Journal, 8.53. CBS News, 6.57. CNN, 6.0. Fox News, 5.2. Russia Today, 4.57. The Young Turks, 2.53. Alex Jones Network, negative 1.56. At the bottom of the list is Next News Network at negative 3.35. Let me reiterate, the foreign propaganda outlet Russia Today was scored 7 points higher than the Next News Network, one of the top YouTube news networks in America. Since my disclosure, Next News Network has been permanently demonetized and will soon be bankrupted. These sound more like the actions we'd expect from a Russian propaganda complex. But shockingly, it's the actions of Google. Let's talk about news rank.
So really big news happening on all fronts. YouTube agreeing to pay $24.5 million to settle a lawsuit for suspending President Trump's account in 2021. I need to talk to his lawyers. Wall Street Journal breaking the news. Exclusive. Trump is using the money to fund the ballroom at the White House. Trump's share of the settlement, $22 million, will go to the nonprofit trust for the National Mall, earmarked for the construction of a Mar-a-Lago-style ballroom Trump is building at the White House. But over on the other side of YouTube, one of the biggest creators, I think probably the biggest creator, did something totally wild. And he's getting a lot of crap for it. Now, you can see it on your screen. Would you risk dying for $500,000? He got 36 million views in 24 hours. Okay. Burning money and putting at risk the life of a person who needs it. Well, at least you're already showing your real essence, MrBeast. Repent and believe in Christ, says Gabby Lovaton. Look at this.
It's 500. This is going to be crazy. This man is literally in a burning building.
Oh, there's fire around the door.
The entire room is on fire. Oh my gosh, this is the craziest thing we've ever built. And behind him is $500,000, which he could win if he completes 7 death traps. Out of there. Get out of here. Come on. In case you're curious who this gentleman is, he's actually a professional stuntman. But we are going to push him to the max in this video. They still got to get the money. All the rooms on fire. All right, watch out, Chandler. All right, that's 2 of the 10 bags. He's on fire. He's literally on fire. Nolan, get the fire extinguisher. Hurry up, the house is about to collapse. All right, that's it. The money's on fire. Oh my God, the money's burning. Come on. Oh, you did it. His legs are on fire. Put it out.
My adrenaline's pumping right now.
You managed to get $250,000 out of that building. Listen to the next death trap. This is going to be crazy. This man.
Meanwhile, they burn $250,000 inside that building. Now, what people are saying is that After the video, MrBeast clarified the person in the video clip was a professional stuntman. The fires were controlled by a kill switch, and the smoke was extracted by ventilation systems. He's been catching a lot of heat for this. Let's see here. They say they had fireproof mats on the floor with certain spots prepared with flammable materials for effect. His shoes caught fire so fast, I believe they put flammable liquid on them too for effect. I spent many hours stomping out fires with my feet, says the Ben C. Vargas Salvateria. One, if there's any real danger to the person, the stunt's illegal. If the guy is a trained stuntman, then the whole thing is fraudulent. It's still illegal since he is presenting this content to people who might not know any better. Of course, stuntmen are, I mean, this is a stuntman here. We've seen this types of, behind-the-scenes stuff with video where the person's wearing flame-retardant clothing, and they put a protective gel over the stuntman. Obviously, don't try this at home, but that just sort of gives you the behind-the-scenes look. This is all theater. Now they're saying if this fire is controlled, you can see the rail. The fire is controlled. You can see the rails on the floor. That whole firefighting team behind the camera with medical crew. He has fire protective gear on him and probably covered in fireproof fluid. So if he catches fire, he's not going to get burnt. We see hundreds of videos going viral. People walking down the street covered in flames. Stuntmen do this all the time. They're not going to let him burn. If they waited for him to be done with the challenge and turned up the flames and then sped up the video, making it look like he got out just in time, but he was out well beforehand. The roof is open, so the smoke doesn't get trapped in the house, meaning he's not going to inhale the smoke. They just film it in a way you can't see all the smoke going up and out. He was never in any real danger. We've seen this stuff many times before, like in Fear Factor. It's nothing new. So, MrBeast, under fire for this. Here's a report we did on MrBeast back in July of 2024. Angie covering it.
But by getting influenced. Listen up, folks. MrBeast, the YouTube sensation, just pulled off something huge. He rallied the internet to clean up our oceans, and boy, did they deliver. We're talking 34 million pounds of trash gone. That's right, 17,000 tons of junk out of our waters. How do you do it? By getting influencers and fans to pitch in. Every dollar donated removed a pound of trash. Verified. No funny business. This Team C's project brought in $30 million and volunteers from 200 countries. It's proof that social media can do more than just waste time. It can change the world. MrBeast showed us that the internet, when used right, is a powerful force for good. Don't miss Gary.
When used right, it's a force for good. Joe Rogan watching Bill Maher call out the woke left on MrBeast.
For children.
Did you see it, Jamie?
Last month, MrBeast, in another move, funded the construction of 100 wells across 5 countries in Africa to provide clean drinking water to 500,000 people. Good thing, right? No. The founder of a charity called Face Africa called it kind of frustrating that overnight this person comes along who happens to be a white male figure with a huge platform, and all of a sudden he gets all of the attention. Another thing this did in Africa was pay for the rebuilding of an African orphanage, which the director of the Hope and Homes for Children charity called it a classic case of white saviorism. How did we get to this weird place? Telling people who are actually out in the world making a positive difference, you're the problem.
Did you see it, Jamie?
Last month, MrBeast.
And he's one of the biggest YouTubers on the planet. So, I don't know what you guys think about this. Trapping someone inside a building for views. Yeah. That's pretty crazy. A former employee of MrBeast now exposing everything since the underage child text messaging scandal came out. This is from July 30th of last year. This video is wild. Allegedly, almost everything MrBeast does is fake. Fake videos, illegal lotteries, fake winners, fake prices, fake prizes, fake contestants, and more.
And send that out. And
Really from MrBeast when it's really...
Have you ever faked a video?
No.
But this train track is CGI, these bus wheels are CGI, this explosion is fake, this shredder is CGI, this car is digitally lifted, this pit is fake, this guy is fake, this island costs more than $1, this city is not abandoned, these buildings are CGI, and that's your only way out. You can literally get an Uber to the airport for $20. That's not a lurker, it's just a guy. This whole room is fake, this contestant is an actor and a secret employee at MrBeast. They heads out through this fake door twice, this line is scripted, this action is scripted. In fact, pretty much all the videos with Mac are scripted.
Talks about MrBeast doing illegal lotteries, constantly relies on that classical conditioning to make kids think that, oh my gosh, if I watch MrBeast, then I'm going to get a car. Oh my gosh, if I watch MrBeast, then my life is going to change. Talks about how MrBeast will have people on the team fake signatures saying MB and send that out, and people think that it's really from MrBeast when it's really just from another team member copying his. How every single video with Mac is completely scripted and that MrBeast never changed his life. Matt already moved to California, $1 million mansion, but MrBeast made it seem like in his videos that his videos changed his life. And there are so many illegal lotteries that he has ran because he makes you think that you have a chance, but you never have a chance. All the lotteries and everything that he's ever done, the winners are other big YouTubers and MrBeast employees. That's it. No random subscriber is ever winning his challenges. He talked about how Feastables are a lie. He shows clips talking about how Feastables are so healthy, they're worse than Hershey's. He's doing all of this false advertising, acting like these are good for you. They're up to 2 times the calorie amount of a normal chocolate bar that's not manufactured by MrBeast. And he talked about how MrBeast threw a temper tantrum with Keith Lee. And show how MrBeast's face completely changed as soon as Keith Lee was not going to give like a 10 out of 10. And MrBeast literally threw candy bars across Keith Lee's house and getting very angry that Keith Lee wasn't automatically going to give him a 100%. This is amazing. And there's so much more he hasn't gotten to yet, including to how someone almost died at a MrBeast shoot, but he hasn't revealed that yet.
Have you ever faked a video?
No.
But this train
Someone
track
almost died, huh? And then we have this fire video. And YouTube pumping those videos all the way to the top of the algorithm. Meanwhile, censoring President Trump, Dan Bongino, Steve Bannon, Gary Franchi, paying out President Trump $24.5 million. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. So this is vindication for everyone they silenced. $24.5 million proves what we knew. Big tech rigged the game. They censored presidents, shadow banned truth tellers, and buried stories that threatened their narrative. Now they're writing checks because they got caught. Zach Voorhees proved it using our channel as evidence. We were the test case that exposed their crimes. But here's the bigger picture. Censorship, digital ID, 2 sides of the same coin. They silence your voice online while tracking your body offline. YouTube's payout happened the same week the EU demands biometrics and Gates pushes skin implants. They're losing control of information, so they're doubling down on controlling you. The truth always wins. It just takes time. So my question is this. Will Google be forced to pay damages to every conservative they censored? Should they? Drop a yes or no and flood those comments because justice is coming. And you can celebrate Trump's big win with some Next News merch. Link down below. Because we survived their worst. What's up? Irving is back. Good to see you here. Dropping $25. Stopping by, G, when I catch your random live feeds. Thank you, sir. And Stephen Kick dropping 10. This is all excellent messaging that everyone should be supporting and promoting with their pockets. Gary, I know you know who I am. We've talked before. Great job, brother. Thank you, Stephen, for your support. All right. Wow, we really blew past that target today. $218.13. Not bad for a Monday. We'll be back tomorrow, though. So what a show. What a moment in history. We just watched the deep state's house of cards collapse in real time. James Comey indicted for lying about the Russia hoax. The first arrest, and what insiders say will be a cascade reaching Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. 9 years of lies finally meeting justice. The coup attempt is exposed and the conspirators are running scared. And then President Trump unleashing federal forces on America's war zones. The National Guard rolling into Portland, Border Patrol flooding Chicago. Mark Vargas, who walked Baghdad streets, says Chicago is worse than Iraq. Antifa terrorists trying to burn ICE agents alive are getting dragged into custody while residents cheer. Yes, law and order has returned. And Democrats preparing to shut down your government unless you pay for illegal alien health care and foreign gender programs. The same hypocrites who called shutdowns dangerous now hold military paychecks hostage. Republicans passed a clean resolution. Democrats chose chaos over country. And the Mark of the Beast going live. Gates Foundation, quantum dots, permanent marks under your skin, lasting 5 years. No mark, no groceries. Larry Ellison bragging about total surveillance. The EU demands your biometrics. RFK Jr. calls it enslavement. Millions of believers see prophecy unfolding. And then the censorship regime paying up. YouTube's $24 million check to Trump proves what we knew. They rigged everything. Google whistleblower Zach Voorhees used our channel to expose their crimes. The truth suppression machine is hemorrhaging money and credibility. Now, these aren't separate stories. They are one war. The Russia hoax criminals getting arrested. The street insurgents getting crushed. The shutdown extortionists getting exposed. The technocratic control grid going live. The censorship cartel collapsing. It's all connected, and it's happening right now. So to everyone who sent in Super Chats and Rumble Rants tonight, thank you. Your support keeps our truth running. And to everyone sharing the stream by text, reposting, and spreading the word, you guys are the real heroes bypassing their algorithms. So keep telling your friends about the raw feed. Tell them the truth still has a voice. Make sure you check out our merch shop at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com and wear your defiance proudly, from Alligator Alcatraz to President Otto Penn to our American badass gear. Show them that we will not surrender. So tomorrow the government might shut down. The deep state will strike back. The technocrats will push harder, but tonight we connected the dots and we exposed their agenda together because we are united in truth. This is Gary Franchi for the Raw Feed. The revolution will be live streamed. The truth will prevail, and we'll see you on the next show if they don't shut us down first. Keep fighting, patriots, because America depends on it.